Oh, I guess I'll do one more on today's little, this will be like a post tonight. Not a lot of writing, not a lot of text. Oh, look at those beautiful, whatever, white. Look, I got a homeless friend. I have not, he's not shared so much, and I'm very close to where he stays. Very interesting story. But maybe I'll title this The Gangs of New York. Let's do that. John, are you defending criminal activity? No. But I look at some of the stuff that most of the drug trade in this part of our country, you got a lot of drugs. Look, they all move out of Mexico. You got this big drug problem and everything going on. I had friends way back in the Kingsville days, through ministry, that I was helping. One's dead now. The one that comes to mind died a long time ago. But when they get out of prison, he's dead, I could tell you. But there's different prison gangs. Mexican Mafia and one they refer to as TS, which is called Texas Syndicate. And they would tell me the stories these guys had. And this one particular friend who died, but he said, you know, John, there was a person that converted, became a Christian. And they had a particular rule, at least at this time, back in the day, that the only way you'd get out of those particular groups was if you really dedicated to God, they let you out, like you get out. So the majority of the drugs that move through this region, Corpus Christi, Texas, comes really from the Mexican Mafia, stuff like that. And then I see indictments and like all these types of things. Right behind me is Flower Bluff. And look, we got a lot of meth houses in Flower Bluff. And the majority of them are just people that are doing it on their own. But the real organized drug problem, it's people affiliated with connections out of Mexico. That's just the way it is, all right? So and then I see some of these, there's what undercover people do, which you heard my view on people that do that, undercover operations and all. I don't think I think that they lie in their jobs and so forth, pretending to be people that they're not. But there was an undercover agent. It's a famous story. But his name is Joe. And Joe was living where I lived, in New Jersey. And Joe would go to where you see me go, where I might be pretty soon. He would go into New York City. And he seemed like he was, you know, on the street. And Joe did things that, some of it was documented that was illegal stuff. Joe, do you remember that time in the club back in the 70s? And you decked one of the guys in the club. That was illegal, assault and battery. You hit him first. Not a big thing, but there's other things. And so then Joe, after a long time, was going to kill somebody. This is all documented, by the way. He was going to kill somebody because it was his turn to go kill somebody. And then, lo and behold, they raided that bar, the feds, and there was a guy by the name of Sonny that Joe was kind of like, you know, one of his workers. And when the feds came in, they showed a picture of Joe, but Joe was wearing a federal, oh, this might be one of my friends walking here, somebody coming up. Joe was wearing, in the picture, the federal law enforcement. They showed it to Sonny, and Sonny was Sonny Black. He couldn't believe it, because Joe was hanging out. Everybody thought Joe was like on the street. And they made a movie. It's called Donnie Brasco. But some of these people that are involved in these things cross a lot of lines, break law on their time when they do their various things. And then that's what convinces others that are on the street that they must be legitimate, because they took a hit off the bowl. They did math or whatever, and that's what made people sometimes think, geez, they're breaking the law. They can't be. And then lo and behold, sometimes they are. I reported years ago, right here, and I sent this to the Justice Department, how after they raided some homes, a trailer park, that the cops went in, one took all the guns and all, and I gave that report. I said, look, this was reported to me. For whatever reasons they took them. And so I say, I don't trust with. And so then there was this Italian back in the day, Joe Colombo, New York again, some of these areas. And Joe didn't like it that there was a lot of movies being made about the mafia and all. So he started like this Italian-American league, club type thing. And he was doing this big, you know, yeah. And he got killed, got shot that day. They killed little Joe Colombo. So you get, like in this country, you got a history of organized crime and things of that nature. But you also have a history of people that were like Joe Pistone. And then some of those people crossed a lot of lines to keep that veneer on that they were this or that. I don't believe it is even a biblical concept of law. We just had to lie, to fake things, obviously to plant evidence, all types of things that this system in this country does. If there was ever going to be a raid, you're going to have all these types of indictments on drug trafficking and all. It wouldn't be anybody associated with the Anglo group. I'll just tell you that right straight out. I just tell you that as a fact. So why don't we see that on the Mexican mafia or TS or any of that? I don't know why. Because that's where the majority of the drugs are coming into the U.S. over the Mexican border. And they're working with people that you never see underage incarcerated. So does race play a role in things, John? I'm sure it does. The long history in this country of all types of things that have gone on. General Flynn, the news today, and I read a couple of reports like CNN and Fox and things, but one report on CNN said he is emotionally and financially broken because they threatened Flynn's son to go after him. Mr. Mueller did. I saw some people say, look, Mueller is a Republican, true, special prosecutor. And the Republicans initially were shocked that Mr. Trump won. It's really not a matter of, it's a matter of insiders and outsiders. I just saw another thing today, by the way, in the news for those political people, that Judicial Watchdog group tried to get from the Open Records Act anything that the Justice Department had about the whole meeting of Loretta Lynch and Bill Clinton on the tarmac, which was wrong. That was done. This would follow this. And they had to release certain emails. Justice Department released them, and what it showed was they were concerned that somebody was telling the truth about the meeting. Not that they were to find out, look, we're not supposed to be involving ourselves, Loretta Lynch, former Attorney General, doing favors for political figures like Bill Clinton and his wife and all these things, which is a history that people do. So the question, it's really establishment that basically is going after. So General Flynn pled to lying to the FBI, who I just told you about, an FBI guy when I was growing up, right there in New Jersey. Joe was lying to everybody. He said he introduced himself as Donnie, and he got Sonny Black killed. Because at least Sonny was a man, after they showed those pictures to Sonny, that all this time you were hanging out watching cartoons with Sonny Black at his apartment. Sonny went, he faced it like a man. He showed up, he left, he wasn't married, but he left like his rings and stuff there at the bar. Said, give this to my girlfriend. They found Sonny dead and his hands were cut off. And they cut Sonny's hands off because he was the one who introduced Joe Pistone, a.k.a. Donnie Brasco, to the upper echelons of the mafia in New York City. And they shook hands, and so Sonny died. They found him without his hands. Now, all criminal activity is wrong and bad. Don't get me wrong. But it's wrong and bad whatever side of the aisle you're on. It's wrong and bad. And here in this part of the country, I looked at that whole indictment. If they're trying to give you the opinion that they dealt a blow to like a big bunch of drug trafficking, that is totally false. That is totally false. And why a Mexican judge by the name of Manuel Manales, and I covered his case a year ago, connections, getting away with maiming people and all these things. If you were an Anglo citizen, he would be in prison he maimed people, wrecks, possibly fled a prostitution sting, got out of that, and he was a judge here. So I don't buy into any of it. I don't buy into any of it. So I'll just highlight the gangs of New York, because that was a history of that part of the country. And when we and people in law enforcement say we want righteous things, and I'm not in law enforcement. My story's been the true story, because people have questioned. Retired firefighter, and I do ministry. And I actually do believe that they put the whole thing in jeopardy. I do believe that. Because how could you have people whose official birth certificate names reported in the media, and then you reported the so-called AKA or alias? That's going to be evidence in any type of prosecution you do on these guys. You've already said that. And they're supposed to go before some jury and say, that's not my AKA, that's not, and you say, well, the prosecution's going to bring up witnesses. We get that. But you don't publicize an unproven allegation in every local media outlet in Corpus Christi and Oasis County. You can publicize the legal name. We got that. And even if the indictment said AKA on them, but that's not, you shouldn't have had that in any of the media reports on this. So I'll just tell you as a fact, this whole indictment thing that they talked about, it has nothing to do with the real problematic drug trade going on in this part of the country. Because I just explained to you all the big movers of that stuff. And I have not seen any indictments on any groups like that. And it's one of those other, quote, groups that killed those 3 or 4 witnesses in that murder trial within the last year. And I haven't heard a thing on that. That's what you would call a real and present danger. Not murders that supposedly took place 15, 20 years ago. Like murders of the witnesses right there. 1, 2, 3, like right after the other. Oh, case dropped. So we'll end with that. New York has got a good history, and then you got all this history that's kind of interesting. We don't glorify it. As a matter of fact, I was watching one of these mafia documentaries a few weeks ago. Had nothing to do with the Christian story or anything. Very interesting. You know, I watched these. But the one guy, as he's telling his story throughout his time, and they had different names for him, you know, it came to my mind. Scott Pelley, the media guy who I don't like from CBS, he's got that. He was interviewing Gotti's son once, John Gotti Jr., and Pelley wanted to be in the mix. And he used the term La Cosa Nostra. And Gotti's son got mad. Sort of like, Pelley, you know. But this one mafia guy in the documentary talked about his past and things that he went through. And they showed part of it. It's just a mafia mob documentary. But he said, you know, when I was in prison, his testimony came out on this documentary. He said, I got closer to God. I started reading the Bible. So he got born again, saved, whatever term you want to use. He came to know God in prison. And then they showed a few clips where he goes and speaks at churches, talking about God. That was very interesting. That's the answer. It's the answer. The whole, why does this mix in with Flynn? Because they finally broke Flynn. You lie to an FBI agent, sir. Lying is a crime if you do it to an FBI agent. But they can lie, deceive, manipulate, steal guns, traffic themselves, history of it. So to them, lying to God, to some of that element of corrupt law enforcement and corrupt officials, to some of them lying to God and every other thing that they might do that is a transgression of the law of God, to them, it's acceptable. But then they would get a general and target his son and finally get him to admit, man, you lied to us. With all the other stuff, all the other things, some in the history of being in these offices broke a lot of laws when they were, quote, doing undercover work. A lot of them. And that was just, of course, they're not going to give an account for the laws they broke, which is a history. A history. Many took payoffs, many took money, and all throughout this country, many in law enforcement took bribes, money, threatening witnesses, meaning some in law enforcement actually threatened people they victimized with grievous bodily harm if you ever report crimes by us, meaning law enforcement has threatened citizens that if you ever report a crime that that particular citizen is aware of, that the law enforcement, that particular agency, they're going to get you. So in their hands, I don't see justice. I don't see them as meting out justice. And as I look at this recent case that I talked about today, this is no dent in the meth problem. Some of the charges are distribution of the methamphetamine. Now, the big drug coming into this part of the country, it's the other ones I mentioned. It's the other ones I mentioned. Okay, so we'll end it. The gangs in New York. You know, Nicky Scarfo, now, he was from Philadelphia. Nicky was kind of sadistic. He almost liked to kill, to be honest. Nicky Scarfo. He got in a fight with a big guy at a diner once. That guy was big and he was choking Nicky. And Nicky, look, he was going to kill Nicky. He grabbed a butter knife off of the table and he stuck it in the neck of the big guy. He killed that big guy. Nicky got off. So there's like a history. Anymore as I walk back to the car. I like Johnny Depp when he played the role. Oh, here's one of my friends. This is one of the homeless guys. I'm doing the video. Now, you've not seen him. Very interesting. His name is Ray. If he wants, I'll have him say a word. I'll tell him I'm just finishing my video. So it'll be good. Ray, I'm doing one of my videos. Do you want to say hi? I'm doing one of my videos. I kind of walk and teach, but you're not on. You want to say hi? Well, this video, what I do is upload them on the different Christian sites. So people will see it. So it'd be hi to the public, basically. If you want to say hi, it's up to you. Okay, because I normally don't put people on. Look, you know what? I'm going to give I was teaching a little bit doing the walk. But as I started walking, I said, you know, I got a new friend of mine, and I was talking about you. I said, and I might run into him. Sure enough, he came walking up. I'm going to give you an update in this little... Hello. Ray has got, look, he's got an interesting story, and I'm going to have him when he wants to tell some of it. It's really interesting, but Apostle Allen, this reminded me because Ray knows Allen. I saw a picture, one of the ladies at one of the churches here, Rock City, about a week ago. She had a picture of Allen. Allen had triple bypass. I knew he had a heart attack. He's still staying in this nursing home in a little town called San Diego, right here in South Texas. And she showed me the picture of Allen. I didn't think it was him. Now, he got a haircut. He lost some weight. He wasn't heavy at all. I barely recognized him. It just means he's doing a lot better. And in the picture, I could barely recognize him.
Couldn't stand to lose much weight.
And I could barely recognize his picture. And I told the lady, she knew him from the church called Rock City. I said, that's not the Allen I'm thinking of. But no, it was Apostle Allen. So that's the update I forgot to do. You've seen Allen on some of the videos. Ray has got an interesting story, and maybe next time I run into Ray, if he wants, I would like to also see how far you've come along with the painting.
Well, that's done. It's done, except I got to put a seal.
Okay, you finished it.
You want to see it?
Yes, I want to show it. Actually,
it's not really a painting.
You know, I had a friend of mine, Mike, who I just saw yesterday. He's an excellent artist. I think I told you about him. I'm talking because I'm still making this video, and it'll be done in a second. I'd like to catch the painting, but I asked him to finish. He was doing a little painting of New York City. I said, Mike, finish it for me. Put a little extra things in it, and I'll buy it for $30. But I want to show you, Ray, some of Mike's paintings. I got a few I bought from him. So, Ray,
this is not really abstract. It's more color design.
I'd like to see it. So this will
It's
be
on a
good.
plastic tabletop.
So you get to see my friend. I was mentioning I'd like you to. It's an interesting story, though. We won't have time to do the whole thing. You know, I don't know if I mentioned, I saw David Martin. My friend David Martin. I seen him for the first time today in about 6 months. And I was glad that I got to see David. And he's doing well. I did a little prayer with him and Jackie. Oh, is that it? You did it right on. It's pretty, Ray. It's
all
pretty.
this color design. It's not really abstract.
And
See,
it's-
I got it. It got in a rainstorm. I got to clean it up and put a.
You did it right on the
clear
tabletop.
coat on.
Yes, as a matter of fact, my friend Mike, it's a little camp back here. My friend Mike does the clear coat. He uses a spray can and puts like a clear coat on the ones he makes for me. I'm going to shut it. I'll talk to you for a minute, Ray. I'm going to shut this video, so we'll end it with that. I'm glad you got to see one of my new friends, okay? God bless everybody.